Hey, John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got another video for you, another question I'm going to answer. This question comes from Jeff. And Jeff says, "Hi John, I recently had a situation that I was wondering if you had any experience/input on. I saw a job listing that I was interested in and it was posted several times. Once straight from the company doing the hiring and several others through recruiting firms. I wondered whether it's better to apply straight to the company through one of through one of the recruiting firms. Does going through the recruiting company offer any advantages, or could it be disadvantage because of now hiring me could cost more than a similar candidate who just applied directly? Curious what your thoughts are there, Jeff." So Jeff, this is a great question, right? I think a lot of people are going to face this, and there's definitely some pros and cons to either approach, right? So if you go directly to the company, obviously, they're not going to have to pay as much for you, because recruiting companies, the way they make their money typically is that they'll get some percentage off the top of your first year's salary. So usually that's somewhere around 10, and it can be even as high as 20% or more. There's different models obviously that operate, but so if you think about it, if you got a $100K salary, someone might pay $10,000 to $20,000 to the recruiting firm if you come through there. So now there's a couple things to think about. If you're talking about a really big company here, right? So a big company is going to pay that fee, and they're not going to pay you necessarily a higher salary just because they didn't have to pay that fee, right? If that makes sense. So like think about an HP or an IBM or an Apple. They don't care about the 10 or 20K. They have certain salary bands, and you're going to fall into that band, and it doesn't matter that they were able to, that you applied directly, right? So there's not going to be any advantage there. So in that case, there's no real advantage to applying directly, but if you had a smaller company where they are very conscious of that cost, they might be willing to pay you more or pay you a bonus if you go through them directly. You might have more negotiating power, and you might be considered just to be a better candidate because of the cost, right? Because if someone's a small business owner and they say, well, I could pick up this guy for X amount of dollars, but if I go through this other person that was referred through a recruiter, they're going to cost me an extra $10,000 or $20,000. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is the power of agency. So I've talked about this a few times in different videos, but this is sort of a powerful concept that you might want to consider. If you go through a recruiter, right, you may benefit from the fact that they have relationships inside that company and can help boost you up to the right hiring manager, or to present you in such a way that you're going to look better. Also, when it comes to negotiating, you will also be able to take advantage of the power of agency. If you are going directly and you get a direct offer from a company, when you try and negotiate with that company, it's you versus them, right? So if you reject their offer, or you propose something higher, it can be perceived as greed. It can be, you kind of have to put your cards on the table. This is anytime you're negotiating, if you can get an agent or use the power of agency, you're at an advantage, because you don't have to reveal the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts behind your negotiation process. So a recruiter, acting as an agent for you, could potentially help you with negotiations, because an offer comes in, you tell the recruiting company, no, I'm looking for X amount of dollars, and then they say, to the company, oh no, my client is looking for this, and here's why that it would be worth paying him this, and so they can bargain on your behalf, and that usually ends up in a better, if you've ever been, hopefully you haven't, but if you've ever been to court or mediation or something like that, that's where a lawyer comes in. Negotiating a settlement, you would not want to do that yourself. Like a lawyer is going to get you a lot more money, and that's the power of agency. But with that said, all that, certain recruiters are unscrupulous, and going through a recruiting agency could actually make you look worse. They could be just blasting different resumes of anyone that matches the jobs. You've seen that now if you're on LinkedIn, where you get all these recruiter spams. So I would look at the quality of the firm as well. But yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. I can't give you like absolute advice here, but I can give you some guidelines. And like I said, depending on the size of the company, if I were going with a large company, corporate, type of thing, I would probably lean towards going through finding the best recruiter, finding the one that has the least overhead, that I'm going to get paid the largest amount of money, that has success placing people the best, has the best reputation, and I would go with them. If it's a smaller company, I'm probably going to go direct. Either way, though, right? If you've listened to my advice on job seeking, don't even go in the front door, right? We're not going to go into this in this video, but get a personal referral. Go and find someone who works at a company. Go and find a way that you can, get a relationship before you have to go and just cold interview, cold email your resume. That's just the worst way to get a job ever. So don't do that if you can avoid it. If you want to, check out my soft skills book here, and I've got a chapter on cracking the interview process, hacking the interview, and I talk all about that. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Thanks for the question. This is a good question. I think everyone has to face this at some time in your career. So thanks again, Jeff. And if you've got a question for me, email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com. And if you got a comment about this, some input, leave a comment below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you'll get these videos 3 times a week. Take care.